Hey everyone, welcome back to my tutorial on AvP mapping. In this video we're going to go over particle effects. Particle effects are very easy to add to your map and they can spice things up. So let's go over all the different kinds of particles you can create. In Inteng, when you launch it up, it's going to look like this. Go to object placement mode. And what we're going to do is go to create particle generator, and we're going to start with a spark effect. So we're going to name it spark 1, and the particle effect is going to look like this. This is actually the same shape that a drop light looks like, and it controls the same. In order to move one, you press F to get it into fly mode, and then you use A to move it forward, Z to move it backwards, and then use the numpad keys to change its direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this one right here in the wall. Okay, so what we're going to see here is at the top here, it will tell you what module your object is in. If it goes outside of a module, it won't render in-game, so I've moved it behind this wall. What we're going to want to do is have it sticking out right here. Okay? Now we either go to Object Edit or just shortcut E, and it will give us a list of various types of particles. The default one is intermittent sparks. Now what we're going to do is set it to that. We're going to give it a sound. So our sound is going to be this one over here. You need to have this wave file or whatever wave file you want for your spark in your sound folder that we set up last time. And it gives us the same kinds of parameters that we had for our last one. So what we're going to do for this here is change the range so it's very small, so you only hear it when you're really close to it, and it's not going to be very loud too. We're only going to set it to 40. And this is very important. When you're setting up the spark sound effect, you're not going to want to have sound loop. Because if you do have it, it's going to sound like that, where it just loops over and over again. You only want it to sound when the spark effect actually happens. Alright, so once again, once you set the sound up, go to Edit, and the top two parameters here are for sparks. The bottom two are for smoke and fire particles. So these two are only relevant for what we're going to be doing here, which is setting up our spark effect. The top one, frequency, refers to how many seconds, like it says over here, seconds, how many seconds before it checks again for trying to set up the effect. So 1 is 1 second, and probability is the probability that the spark is going to happen. 100 obviously is a 100% chance. So if you want it to have a 50-50 chance to play every second, you'd set it up like this. What I'm going to do over here is set this to 0.7 and set this over here to 40. So it's not exactly a 50% chance. If you set this to 5,000, which is the maximum frequency, that means it'll play once and then it'll wait 5,000 seconds before it checks again the probability to play. Alright, so that's the setup there. Okay, so that's our spark sound effect, or sorry, spark effect particle generator. Okay, we're going to add some black smoke over here. So we're going to do this and type in smoke gen 1. Again, this is just labeled for convenience. Okay, so this is smoke. As you can see over here at the top, this type is intermittent sparks. We're going to need to change that. So press E, change this to black smoke. This one we're not going to add a sound. It's just going to be silent. And I forgot to mention active. Active means that it's already playing when the map starts. So what you can do is you can set it up so that it's not active, and then something happens so that later on it turns on. So that's why you do that. I'm going to turn these just 0. And for black smoke, well, for smoke, the quantity refers to the density of particles. 1,000 means it's extremely dense, with lots of particles, and 1 means it's very, there's basically nothing. Basically one puffball of smoke. We're going to set this up to 100, and then the speed, as it says meters per second, it's about the number of meters per second that these particles are traveling. So it doesn't need to be very fast. If you set it up to the maximum, it's gonna look crazy. So don't set it up really that high. You shouldn't need anything higher than 10. Okay, so as you can see, this is our particle generator, and we're going to arrange it so that it is looking like smoke is coming upwards. Once again, check this side to make sure that you're not going out of bounds, otherwise it just won't play, and that's no fun. Okay. So that's our black smoke. We're going to create another particle generator over here, which is going to be smoke gen 2. And this one over here is going to be steam. Steam is the same as black smoke, except it's just white particles instead of black. We're going to set this one up to be this commonly used steam sound. And the range here should be 5, 10. Volume over here, we're not going to want it to be very noticeable and annoying, so we're going to make it a low volume. And this one is fine for sound looping because obviously the steam is constant, so it's going to be constant. And once again, we're going to have this kind of coming out of the wall. Again, check over here to make sure that it's in bounds. And that looks good. So this is going to be coming out of the wall here. Okay, last thing for our particle generators, we're going to have a series of fire streams coming out of here. So we're going to do fire 1, and over here flame. Since we're going to have, this is going to be four jets of fire, we're just going to not have these overlap. We're just going to have one of these. So that's all that we really need. And this is going to be set to 5, 10 again, and then 50%. Sound looping is perfectly fine. Okay, let's change this so we're active. Okay, quantity is 40, speed here is 8, so it's moderately fast. This reminds me, I didn't actually set the parameters for the steam, so let's go over here. So this is set to 0. Let's make this 40 quantity and not really too noticeable. It's just going to be some environmental, so I'll change that to 3. It's not going to be very fast. Okay, now back over here. This is, as you can see, it's not the game, or the engine, I should say, Inteng is not telling me that it's in bounds. So just move that until it says it's in the correct module. Okay. And then I'm just going to this, fire 2, change this to flame, active, again since it's not sparks we'll just do that, 40, then 8. Just leave the top 2 blank, and when you look at it again it'll just 0 out. You don't need to type in 0. Again, this is not in bounds yet, so here we go. Alright, I'm just going to check everything over here. So we have our spark sound effect, the spark generator. Here we go. Here should be the black smoke. Here is the steam. And finally we've got the fire. Okay, great. Now that you have that, go to mode, go to exit. I'm sorry, save, exit, quit. And now we're going to check this. Alright, so here's our steam. Okay, the black smoke is working. The sparking is working. Okay, and lastly, this looks pretty intense, so this could be lowered. You could lower the speed a little bit, just to make sure that players know that if they fall down here, they're going to die. And it does, in fact, light you on fire. The other particle effects do not have any effect on you. Like steam doesn't light you on fire or cause damage. Same thing with the black smoke or the sparks. Okay, so that about wraps up particle generators. In the next tutorial, we're going to be going over adding a sky and a skybox. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you there.